Let's talk about prostate health. It's a guy thing. The reality is that your prostate is going to exist in your body if you're a guy, regardless. And if you ignore it, it doesn't mean that it's not going to misbehave. We're all afraid as guys to go to the doctor and be, quote unquote, violated with the digital rectal exam. As my father-in-law would say, well, there's an opinion, and then there's a second opinion. Of course, that's not the case. They don't do second opinions like that. But it gives you a sense as guys of how we don't like to go in and pay attention to our prostates. But remember that if we have a female counterpart in our lives, they don't like going in and getting their gynecological exams either, but it's something you do to take care of your body. By the age of 40, you should have a baseline of a prostate exam. If you don't get a prostate exam done, well, it doesn't mean your prostate's not going to misbehave. It just means that you don't know that it's misbehaving. So a lot of doctors will say, okay, let's go ahead and do a PSA, a prostate-specific antigen. That's a good screening tool, but it's not as accurate as doing a digital rectal exam. So you want to do a PSA and you want to do a digital rectal exam. If your PSA is high, you want to get a free PSA. That doesn't mean it doesn't cost money, but it actually measures your risk factor for having a prostate disease that you're going to be worried about. And you want your free PSA to be above 25% in terms of that ratio. So, got to pay attention to the prostate. You have to remember that when you were little, before we hit adolescence, our prostate was very small, and then we hit puberty and it basically grew in size and doubled. It's about the size of a walnut, but as we get older, it grows and grows and grows. And you might hear some older people say, oh, mine's the size of a grapefruit. Generally, not literally, but in some occasions, it is big. But what it ends up doing is it does grow over the course of time. And you might start having symptoms which include increased urination, nighttime urination, and the infamous forked stream. So you're standing there at the urinal, and all of a sudden one's going one way and one's going the other. That's a forked stream. It means there's not as much pressure, creating a good strong stream. So it's like a tributary of a river going both directions. But also you might notice other things, like just a sense of, boy, I wish I could just get that last little bit of urine out. Or you might notice dribbling. You shouldn't be dribbling. If you're dribbling, that also suggests that you weren't able to close down as well. And you have to remember that the prostate kind of works in the reproductive tract in a very succinct fashion. There's the bladder, then there's a prostate underneath it. And so the tube from the bladder goes through that prostate. So the prostate starts swelling, then all of a sudden the bladder has to have a certain amount of pressure to get through that additional resistance, and that's why we start having retention of urine, increases your chance of bladder infections, also disorders of ejaculation as well. So once again, there's several ways in which you might know you have prostate problems, or it might be silent. They say about 1 in 10 guys will have an overt serious prostate disease, and it is the most leading cause of cancer in men, secondary to, of course, smokers and lung cancer. So you might also have painful ejaculations. You might have an interruption of the flow of your urination as well. If you're African American or black, you're about twice the risk, if not sometimes 4 times the risk, as a Caucasian or Asian man. And there's many reasons why that might be occurring. Part is darker pigmented skin, so when you go outside, you don't get as much vitamin D, particularly if you live in the more northern hemispheres, even in the United States. They've shown that when Japanese men or Asian men come to the United States, they double the risk of prostate cancer if they adopt our westernized diet. And Caucasian men are kind of in the middle of that. And once again, so there's an ethnic component. If you're black, you're at a higher risk. If you're Asian, if you came to the United States, you're at a higher risk. And if you're Caucasian, you're kind of in the middle. The more meat you eat, the more problems you have. And there's some research in the natural medicine realm that if you have type O blood and you drink lots of dairy, eat lots of dairy, that might increase your risk. But also if you're a smoker, you're going to actually create cadmium, it's a heavy metal, accumulating in your prostate, and that's actually going to increase your risk. And if you live in certain parts of the country, which are a large part of the country, with low selenium levels in the prostate can also increase your risk of prostate disease. And interesting, we know that the human adrenal glands, which deal with the stress response, is high in vitamin C naturally, and the vitamin C is used for the production of hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, and neurotransmitters from the adrenal glands. Interesting enough, the prostate's the largest concentration in the male reproductive tract. Zinc is the largest mineral found there, then selenium. And if you have little white dots on your fingernails, you have poor wound healing, you get chronic infections, you want to look at what your zinc levels are. So increasing your zinc, making sure you have enough selenium, making sure you don't eat too much red meat. And if you are eating red meat, you want to make sure it's organic or free-ranged. Otherwise, you're eating hormones and antibiotics. So if you had money to spend on natural, healthy food, make sure it's your meat first and foremost. Because remember, food is your best medicine. Also critical with any kind of prostate disease, catch it early. For age of 40, get a digital rectal exam, get a prostate level done, a PSA, see what your levels are. You always want your PSA below 4, and unless you're up to about 60 plus, you should want about a 1 or a 2. Don't allow you to be hugging the higher level of a 4 with a PSA. Keep that level low. So from an herbal perspective, what can you do? Saw palmetto, pygeum. These are 2 herbs. Lots of research on them. Can help keep the prostate healthier. And also something called DIM, D-I-M, also known as indole-3-carbinol. It's derived from cruciferous vegetables. So you're saying, cruciferous vegetable. What are those again, Dr. Meletis? Broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, collard greens. These are things which actually help protect your prostate, also protects your colon from cancer, and for any female counterparts in your life, protects their breasts. So this is good for the whole family, from the kids onwards. Mom was right. Eat your vegetables. It will support your body. Likewise, lycopene, very important. Lycopene is a substance found in pink vegetables and fruits. Grapefruits, also, of course, tomatoes, guava, watermelon, high in lycopene. Eat foods which are dark greens and pink because they're high in lycopene, which also protects the prostate. So remember, the prostate's in your body. You can ignore it, but the reality is if you keep on ignoring it, you will become another statistic. The difference between you and another gentleman with the risk of prostate disease, all things being equal, genetics, race, and so forth, is one person takes charge, one person just hopes that they don't hit the rocks going down river. If you go with the flow and you ignore things, that just means that you're going to be like the average person, a statistic probably. So you want to take charge. So get the digital rectal exam, eat your cauliflower, your broccoli, and look at supplementing with DIM, supplementing with vitamin D. Have your medical doctor measure your 25 hydroxy, which is OH, vitamin D levels. Because if they're low, your risk goes higher. The research on breast cancer is you have to consume 3,500 international units to lower your risk of breast cancer by 50%, according to the latest study from an epidemiological. This is what they're projecting. You need to consume 2,000 international units of vitamin D to lower your chance of colon cancer by 50%. So I would say somewhere between the 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 level of vitamin D on a daily basis, unless you're getting lots of sun, you live in one of the southern states or southern part of the world, you need to increase your vitamin D. You need to increase your lycopene, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your DIM, good multivitamin, your zinc, your selenium. And remember that saw palmetto is very important for your well-being and health. And the power of vegetables goes without saying, very important. Average American, only 11% of them consume enough fresh fruits and vegetables. So 89% chance that you're one that isn't consuming enough. So my recommendations are simple. Cruciferous vegetables, lycopene, you can do those as supplements or you can eat them. I would do both myself. Vitamin D, you also have to do the selenium, the zinc, and do this on a daily basis along with some saw palmetto because from the age of 40 on, all of my male patients are on prostate protective protocols to help them not become another statistic. Take charge, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones that count on you and want you to be around for a very long time.